Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Fury of the Oppressor. And pretty much this lesson comes from the inspiration of the book of Micah, the second chapter, and specifically the first verse. And I was kind of going through it, following some precepts, and I jotted down some precepts based off of some of the precepts that came off of Micah 2, and then a couple of other precepts came to mind, so I jotted those down to kind of go into this lesson, the fury of the oppressor. And the oppressor being Esau today. we had oppressors in the past among the different nations that troubled us. And the main oppressor today would be Esau, the so-called white man. Beginning with the small hats. They're at the top of that. Now, before I started, I found a quote. I was looking for something, a picture or a definition of something, and I ran across this quote by Malcolm X. He said, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. And this is a very profound statement because the small hats have everybody, under their grip, so to speak, hating the Hebrew Israelites. They're always, crying about how they're being oppressed, which you can't find that. You have to comb through a whole beach and you might find one little incident of something that somebody may have said that offended, a rat. Not a cat in a hat, but a rat. But this is heavy because it says if you're not careful, the newspaper will have you hating the people who are being oppressed, which are the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and loving the people who are doing the oppressing, which is Esau, beginning with the small hats, all the way on down. And the reason why, these devils are doing what they're doing, and if your eyes are open, you could see that every facet of society that has anything to do with the future, and the direction of society, whether it's morally, socially, financially, so on and so forth, is all heading in the direction, of a digital world. Everything is heading towards straight up oppression. And when they say that, you will own nothing and be happy, is because through something known as UBI, Universal Basic Income, or if they change it to another name or whatever the case may be, the whole incentive is, give people. This is why they're trying to. This is why not they. This is not what why they're trying. This is why they are culling the herd and cutting everyone down to a manageable size so that they can, give them what they want. There was a video out by this individual who claimed, to have traveled back from time, which we know that that's not the case. But he was saying that, you're going to have digital coins in the future, something along those lines, or coins in the future, where some coins are going to be for vehicles, some coins are going to be for washing laundry, some coins are going to be for household, debts or whatever the case may be, and you can't use one coin with the other, regardless of however it goes down. We know that ultimately it's going to go down, filter down to what the scriptures call the MOTB, which is the C-HIP. All right, those of you that are new that don't know what the C-HIP is, you got to keep watching the videos because, we're at a point now where certain keywords you can't really say. But if you take the word C-HIP and put it together, you get a word, and it's not a potato. It's not a potato chip. and then you put the micro in front of the C hip, and you get, where it's going. And that's going to be the direction that the world is going to go into economically. So these devils are pushing forward in this agenda because their agenda is especially within the last couple of years, has really, actually almost 3 years, has really, moved forward faster than their wildest dreams could have ever imagined. And this is because the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Shai is speeding it up. Now, when we go to Revelation chapter 12, right, this is a key scripture because this is letting us know what would happen in these times prior to Yahweh Shai and the angels coming back. In Revelation 12 and 12, we're just going to, matter of fact, I'm going to start at 10 since the Spirit made me say 10. I thought about it, but I wanted to just go straight to the point. But Revelation 12 and 10, it says, "And I heard another voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed." Yeah, because we're getting closer and closer to Yahweh Shai appearing to claim his kingdom / the kingdom of Israel, which is our kingdom also because we are joint heirs with him. So in the midst of all of that, these devils know that this is coming, so they're pushing their agenda forward even that much quicker. It says, "For the accuser of thy brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night." And this is not talking about a spiritual demon Satan, or the spiritual demon Satan and his cohorts, so to speak, because they all work for the Most High, Yahweh. Even the people on the earth work for Yahweh B'Shem Shai in one way or the other, whether it's in righteousness or in wickedness. But this is talking about the people that are on the planet Earth that are a direct link to their daddy, the spiritual demon Satan, which are the Edomites. And they're pushing forward this agenda. And they are the accuser of our brethren. They accuse us day and night, but also because they categorize us. Everything with Esau is a category. It's not never like, okay, well, you got this and then you got that. It's always has to be classified under some type of category. It says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, which is the blood of Yahweh Shai, and by the word of their testimony." Because that's the perfection. It's a formula. It's a formula. "And they loved not their lives unto death." Yeah, because in this world, to love your life is death. And this is just a mere existence. This world is, this is a miserable existence. The only thing that makes any sense, the only thing that is worth living for is, the truth of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, the truth and the brotherhood, and the elect. That's about it. That's why the Apostle Paul said, "I endure all things for the elect's sake." Outside of that, this world is nothing more than a miserable existence. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." And that's why everything is moving forward quickly. Now, when we go to Micah chapter 2, which is the main scripture, and verse 1, it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds." And this is Esau. The scriptures say that they can't sleep unless they've done some type of mischief. And this is what they're up to. This is one of their plans or agendas. This is why, the WHO, and other organizations, pharmaceutical companies, all of that are working so tirelessly, in this Depop agenda, and this is why they, the whole big scare, getting people to get that, that jump shot, to do all of these things that will alter the system, because they want to be the Most High. They want to control everything. They want to be the ones that everyone jumps when they come a calling, so to speak. Hence the title of the lesson, "The Fury of the Oppressor." It says when the morning is light, they practice it, right? So every morning, without fail, there's some part of their plan that they're pushing forward. And this is why back in 1921, when the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, was established, the very first thing they did was buy up all forms of media, newspapers, radio, broadcasts, and all of that. And even today, every form of media outlet out there, they're trying to buy, or they're buying. Why? So that they can control the narrative. This is why you have the illusion of free trade, and you have the illusion of these different supermarkets and different box stores and all of that. And pretty much when you dig deep into it and you look at all of the owners, shareholders and owners of all of those corporations, they pretty much are all owned by a handful of corporations. One of the top ones being Vanguard and BlackRock. All of these, whether it's Pepsi, Coca-Cola, these different rival, brands, they're all owned by the same people. And they're doing that because they want to manipulate everything in a certain direction. This is why you have, policies in government being influenced by the desires of the corporations that support them. You see? Because these corporations are the ones that's, pumping in the money into the government. And these so-called politicians that are supposed to be for the people are really officiating the business of these big businesses. That's why you hear George Carlin speak about that. He, towards the end of his career, he started speaking more and more about that in his comedy. People took it as a joke, but he was telling the truth. And it's in the power. When they wake up in the morning, they practice it. Why? Because it is in the power of their hand. And when you look up this word power, right? The word there for power in the Hebrew is the word Allah, which means, Allah, power, goes back to the word ayal, God, God-like one, mighty one, all right? Strength, power, all right? It could be speaking about the angels. It could be speaking about a person on the earth with God-like powers. And Esau is the one on the earth with the God-like powers because the earth is given into his hand. Now, this word, Allah, in this form, appears many times in the scriptures, but as the English word power itself, it only appears 3 times. Now, I have with me here a dictionary, that was put together by High Priest Ariah, the Hebrew dictionary, and he put together a Hebrew dictionary. And what I did was when I redid the dictionary, I expanded, I added more letters or more words to it, But in this, booklet, when you look up the word gods, or when you get to the word Alahayim, which is the plural way of saying God, Allah is God, singular, Alahayim is God, plural. The yum at the end makes it plural, masculine. All right? When you look through the English translation was God's powers, because the word Allah or God simply means power, or it could be God-like one, or angels, mighty men, men of war. It could be speaking about demons, principalities, false gods. It could be speaking about the Most High himself, depending on how it's worded. Mighty things in nature, So the word is translated as power. Now, the other 2 scriptures that it comes up as power is, one of them is Genesis 31. And this is dealing with Laban and Jacob. and how Jacob supplanted Laban because Laban changed his wages. I believe it was 10 different times. So Jacob got mad, so he turned around and supplanted him. And then he was about to leave with his family, and then Laban caught up to him. And when Laban caught up to him, because they was trying to leave secretly, but when Laban caught up to him, this is what Laban told him. Genesis 31:29. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the Most High, the power of your father, spake unto me yesternight, saying, take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. So the Most High warned him, don't put your hands on her, because I'll fuck you up. Because this is the man that the Most High promised Abraham, that from his seed, that would be where the promise would end up and the blessing would end up. So when you look up this word power here, goes back to, goes back to the word Allah, power. So it was in the power of his hand. He had the godlike power to do Jacob hurt, but he didn't. But in the case of Micah 2, these devils have the godlike power in their hands to do this. And they're doing it. They're doing it to death. They ain't swerving. They just moving forward, because the fury of the Lord is upon these devils. Now, interesting in this, just to make a quick note, this is Laban. Now, Laban is a close relative to Jacob, right? So it says, it is in the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the God of your father spake unto me yesternight. Because although the Most High created everything, he's only chosen one nation. And that nation began with Abraham, went to Isaac, and to Jacob. Now, Adam was one of the sons of the Most High. And that line that came out of Seth, those are sons of the Most High. Noah himself, Shem, Arphaxad, Eber. These are all sons of the Most High. And the line, the main line, which is the fathers of the promise, or the exalted fathers, is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I just, when I read across it, I was like, wow, that's heavy, But the power of your father, he didn't say his God or the God of everyone. He said the God of your fathers spake unto me yesterday. All right, so let's go to the other one, which is actually in the book of Proverbs. All right, so remember, he had the power in his hand to do Jacob hurt, but the Most High told him, you better not. These devils have the power to do hurt, and they do hurt, because all they can do is do evil. May you do good that are accustomed to doing evil. When we go to Proverbs 3:27, straight to the point, it says, withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. So we look up the word power again. And what do we have? The word Allah. Ah and Allah. So, withhold not good from them to whom it is due. And that's what these devils do. Because when someone works for you, you're supposed to pay them, but you're supposed to pay them with real money. You're not supposed to be making people wait a week, 2 weeks, a month to get paid. When we go to, let me hold on to that. When we go to Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 13, it says, thou shalt not what? Defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. And I've said this before. Like I said, I can't remember the actual court case, but there's a court case that distinguishes between wages and income. Because when you have the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, it's nothing more than a privately owned corporation. They could only tax income. This is why it's called an income tax. And this particular case distinguished between income and wages. Wages and income are two different things. Income is money that is accrued or gained from capital or money invested. Wages are compensation for one's labor. Two different things. Wages cannot be taxed. Income can be taxed. That's why it's called an income tax and not a wage tax. So the Lord is saying, don't defraud your neighbor or rob him. But what do these devils do? That's exactly what they do. They steal and they rob. It says, the wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. So you're supposed to pay someone that does work for you every night. Whenever the day, that work day is done, that individual that works for you should have money in his pocket every day. Not wait a whole week or wait a week in a whole or get paid bi-weekly or monthly or whatever, however they do it. So let's move from there to Deuteronomy 24. And that's what these devils do. Deuteronomy 24 and 14. It says, thou shalt what? Not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy. Now, when we look up this word oppressed, right? Oppression is to crush somebody. Now, you can oppress somebody by whooping their ass. You could oppress somebody by threatening them. You could oppress somebody by laying siege against them. And you could also oppress somebody financially. And the main thing that these devils do is oppress people financially. It's a financial oppression. This is why when we read Isaiah 14 and 4 and 5, it says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, which is here in America, whatever the modern day president be, because indirectly you're speaking to them, right? We're speaking to them when we curse them out, but we're indirectly and directly speaking to the international banking families who are the ones pushing the policy for this, pretty much for the world. It says, and say, how hath what? The oppressor ceased. The golden city ceased. And I'm pretty sure that word oppressor here is going to be it's a little different from the other one. So let's get this one in the book of Deuteronomy. Ishak. Ishak means to press upon, oppress, violate, defraud, do violence, get deceitfully, wrong, extort, right? So it has an implication of violence, violating, defrauding, doing violence, get deceitfully, right? Meaning, bamboozle somebody out of their wages, working for you, giving them something that's not even worth anything. They can get around with it. They can pay bills and buy food with it because of the belief people have in it, but it really has no real substance back in it. It's nothing more than just really paper. All right. So going back. So here the word oppressor is nagash. Nagash, which means to press, drive, oppress, exact. Now, what does exact mean? It could be precisely, but exact also means to demand payment. Exact, not approximate in any way, precise. Demand and obtain something, especially a payment from someone, see? And that's what they do, they exact. So this is another way of oppression. You could beat somebody over the head or you can beat somebody in the pocket. Exert demanding pressure, right? And that's what they're doing. They're exerting demanding pressure. And this is what's happening. This is why when you look at the debt clock, which is a lot more than what it is. What is it? 21 trillion or more? I haven't looked at it in a while. Matter of fact, let's see what it says. It says, what is it? National debt. U.S. national debt. Wow, I said 31 trillion, which is a lot more than that. But the point is, when you look through here, it gives you what each family owes. And this is a debt based off of money that's created out of nothing. Yeah, it breaks it down as debt by family or something like that. And I see, personal debt is $72,000 per citizen. So each citizen has to pay $72,000. I don't know about y'all out there, but I don't have no $72,000 to pay this debt. Total personal debt is 24. I don't know if that's billion or trillion. Bank interest per adult is 13,488 people. Then it has here, U.S. total debt is what? 93 trillion. You know? So, you get the idea. So this is exert demanding pressure, and that's what they're doing. And this is why when you have this so-called national debt, they're not worried about collecting it, because they know that debt brings forth servitude, slavery. Hence the MOTB, which is the CHIP, which is the digital oil, as you've heard the apostles call it, that is going to be used to identify a perpetual servant to whatever family they may be allotted to. And their inward thought is that their houses are going to continue forever. So that's why they're pushing forward with this agenda. All right. What else we got in here? Then we have the word Golden City ceased. Right. Now, when you look up that word Golden City, right, you have the word Madabah, which is boisterous, raging behavior, boisterous behavior, which is somebody that could be loud. It could be used in the sense of, like a foolish woman, is clamorous or loud. But it's also what? Golden City, exactness of gold, meaning exacting gold, demanding everyone's riches. Hence, going back to Micah chapter 2, where it says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand, or they have the godlike power to do so. And they covered fields and take them by what? By violence. Why? Because they put a person in a situation where they put them in such debt that the only way they can pay for it is giving up their cattle, giving up their land, giving up their goods, and eventually giving themselves over. This is why it says that they shall be like madmen, sparing none. Because, like Big Al, they're tired. I'm tired of waiting for my money, punk. Inside joke. But like Big Al, they're tired of waiting for their money. So they're gonna call in the loans, and people are not gonna have the money to pay for it. So henceforth, in order to operate in this new system, you have to follow by their guidelines and their rules and accept whatever they give you. You know the saying, beggars can't be choosy. So, and you get the idea. And houses, right? They take fields and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And especially Jake. Jake really can't provide nothing for their children, because we're under those curses. All right, so let's go from there. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 24. Let's read this again. Thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. This is dealing with Israelites and Israelites that were not born in the land of Israel. It's very easy. It says, at his day thou shalt give him his hire, right, which is what he worked for, the wages that he earned. Neither shall the sun go down upon it, which we read the law, For he is poor, and this is another law, for he is poor, and what? And setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it shall be sin unto thee, as we read in James the 5th chapter, which if we get a chance, we're going to read about it. James the 5th chapter, all right? Now, let's go from there. Let's go to Exodus chapter 22. Matter of fact, let's go back here. Matter of fact, no, you know what? Exodus 22. Let me keep that in case we need to go back there. So Exodus 22 and 25. It says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a what? As an usurer. What is a usurer? Somebody that lends you money and expects interest. Compounded interest on top of that. Let's go to the word usurer so you can see. Usurer or usury, a person who lends money at unreasonably high rates of interest. So they're nothing more than loan sharks. You type in the word loan shark. A loan shark is a person who offers loans at extremely high interest rates, has strict terms of collection upon failure, and generally operates outside, I guess it's going to say the laws. Yeah, outside the law. So it says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury, interest. Right? We're going to get back to this because this is a very heavy law right here. Usury. The word there is nashak. Nashak. Interest, usury. That's it. Interest on a debt. Because the reason why they're in that condition is because they are poor. And if you compound debt on top of their loan, they'll never be able to pay for it. Hence, what will happen? They will lose everything, including the shirt off of their back. Literally. Those of you that have watched the movie A Knight's Tale, the one individual that was the eloquent orator, there was, when they first showed him, he was doing what? He was walking bucket naked. Why? Because he was a staunch gambler, a lousy staunch gambler that lost everything, including the clothes on his back. But in the law, it speaks against that. Because people can, at the end of it all, can give the clothes off of their back literally. But by the end of the day, you're supposed to give those clothes back. When they got Red Fox, they came and took everything from him. They took everything. I think they took his dogs, they took his jewelry. They even came and took the rings off of his finger, the necklace around his neck or something along those lines. And I forget exactly how he put it, but pretty much he was saying that was like inhumane. I don't remember the exact quote that he quoted, but this is how heartless these motherfuckers are, man. It says, if thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment for a pledge. What is a pledge? A pledge is collateral. Let's see what it says for the word pledge. Because whenever you take out a loan, you have to do what? You have to use collateral. Collateral is a substance that of value that you can put up. In case you default on the loan, they have something to collect on the loan outside of your signature. Chabal. It says to bind, to take a pledge, lay pledge, right? So a pledge is collateral. Let's see if it'll come up as collateral. Pledge, a solemn promise or undertaking, right? A thing that is given as security for the fulfillment of a contract or the payment of a debt and is liable to forfeiture in the event of failure, right? There you go, collateral. All right. So going back, it's saying, if thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by that the sun goeth down. See, everything, in the law worked in a practical manner. It was all fair. For that is his covering only. See? It is his raiment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep. So if you take that from him, and that's his covering, how the hell is he gonna, where is he gonna, he ain't gonna have nothing to cover himself when he sleeps. And it shall come to pass when he crieth unto me that I will hear, for I am gracious. This goes, to the weep, how for your miseries that shall come upon you, O ye rich men. Now let's go from there to Proverbs, back to Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 31. It says, he that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker, but he that honoreth him hath mercy on the poor. And these devils have had no mercy. That's why it says they shall have judgment without mercy, that hath showed no mercy. Now let's go from there to Deuteronomy 28. And this, none of these curses that are on here fit the small hats at all. Let's go to the 43rd verse. Right, it says the stranger that is within. Now this stranger is talking about an actual stranger, actual heathen. It's not talking about, an Israelite foreigner. It's talking about an actual heathen. It says the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So what do you think is going to happen? He's going to loan to you. He's going to lend to you. So you're going to become indebted to him. So when we jump up to the 33rd verse, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors. Why? Because you're going to be poor. You're going to be cursed in the city, in the field. Shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. Let's go to the word oppressed. Again, the word ishak, which is to press upon, oppress, violate, defraud, do violence, get deceitfully. This is, oppressing financially. Then we got the word crushed, right? And the word crushed is the word ratazai, which is to crush, oppress, to crush, get crushed, be crushed, grievously oppress. Right, and this is to crack in pieces, which pretty much is when somebody is financially through, they're just done, finished. How many people have been broken to the point where they had to be homeless, lost everything. And this is what this devil does, because when the wicked are in authority, the people mourn. People are not in a position of being joyful or joyous. So going back to Micah 2:1, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. So what do? Maya Amshabar said, give me control of the nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws. Why? He that controls the money controls the laws. The old saying, money talks, bullshit walks. And you can see that these large corporations that eventually got the influence over prominent positions in the government have been the ones making policies, because the business owners have bought into and have even entered into, these positions to work in their favor. So when we go to Isaiah 10:1, which your brother put this up, Isaiah 10:1, it says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and their right grievousness which they have prescribed. Right, because a decree is a law. You got the word chakwak, which is decree, resolve, statute, action, prescribed. Right, and the action prescribed is what? A law that was what? Enacted. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. Because a law, before it becomes a law, it's a bill. It goes before Congress. They consider it. They vote on it. And if it passes, then it becomes law. So they have laws or decrees that are what? Unrighteous decrees or unrighteous laws, which they have what? Prescribed. When you go to the doctor, what is a prescription? A prescription is something that is pre-written, a permission that is given to you to go to this particular building, you know, the drugstore or whatever, and get this thing that was written down on the paper. And that's what they're doing. Everything is prescribed by law. And lawfully, which is unrighteous decrees, they can take and do everything. This is why everything that Esau does is on the books. And everything they push is in a form of oppression. Good for them, bad for everybody else. And the word for prescribe is the word kathab, which means to write down. All right? Kawathab is writing, you know. All right, so let's go from there. Let's go to Revelation 13 and 11. It says, the beast from the earth, this is speaking about America, which came back into power, and they came back into power in the form of the ancient Roman Empire, just under a different name, but using the same exact policies that the Roman Empire used. There's many parallels and comparisons between America and ancient Rome. You know, and all you got to do is type in governmental buildings in America, and you're going to see that they're all stylized with the ancient Roman columns, Roman/Greek columns. The policies that they're using are the same policies of ancient Rome. From the president, back then Caesars, emperors, whatever, you know, the Senate House, senators, the voting, the giving of the so-called giving of the government to one man, you know, and many other things. The military, the police force, everything that you see in America is set up is exactly and established the same way as ancient Rome was. Revelation 13:11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. Now this other beast that came up out of the earth was a refreshing of the first beast, which was the Roman Empire. And he had two horns like a lamb, because you have your two opposing parties, your Democrats and your Republicans. The world thinks that it's a bipartisan, you know, like the elder put up, patricians and plebeians. That's what they were called back then. Plebeians, however you say it. So it's an illusion of a bipartisan two parties, which pretty much bi is two, partisan is two parties. So there's an illusion of being a bipartisan or they're against each other, but it's really just one party. That's it. It's one party. And they speak like a lamb because they're supposedly doing things for the benefit of the people, whether it's the poor or the rich, right? But really, they're both working together for the same policies of the international banking families, you know, who have infiltrated all facets of government. And he spake as a dragon. Now, a dragon goes back to the Greek word drakon. The word drakon goes back to an Athenian lawgiver named Draco, who was known to give the most severe penalties for breaking even the least crimes. And that's what's coming. You know, I was watching this series on the Purge, because, you know, the Spirit been having me watch these Purge movies. And there's a series that was on what was that, USA or some shit like that. And I don't watch TV. I just happened to have bought the DVD, and it actually came with it. You know, it was like an extra bonus or whatever. I mean, it's not the greatest, but I mean, it gives you an idea of how they can set up, you know, this new system. And pretty much, you know, during Purge night, you know, you could do whatever, but there was a one point where this one individual was robbing a bank during Purge night, and he went back in because he had left the money. And when he went in and came out, within maybe a millisecond, that the horn went off to end the purge, and one of his feet was still a little bit on the threshold, and they pretty much sentenced him to a whole year in prison, and at the end of that year be put to death. That's like a form of draconian legislation. Summary execution, another one. They show you the movie Running Man, where they have in the future, they, criminals or whatever, they let loose in the city and they hunting them down. And you can't put this shit past these devils. These devils are the devil, man. That's why it says, Malcolm X said it, if you're not careful, the newspaper will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. Unfucking-lievable. So Dracon, a dragon, a great serpent, named for Satan, which is not it's a name for Satan in the sense of Esau, because when you break the word down, see, people look at Satan as a personalized name. The word Satan just simply means adversary. It's not a personalized name, even though Satan is Satan. He is the top Satan, but it just simply means, adversary. Let's see, Derkomai, to look, a fabulous kind of serpent. Yeah, these devils don't know. So it's pretty much the draconian legislation that they're passing, to pretty much oppress the people. And this is the reason why they're going to pay. Now, an example of this is during the time of Esther, which, like I said, a lot of these precepts were just precepts that were a part of Micah the 2nd chapter, and then others that came off of that. So this is Esther chapter 3 verse 8. Back then, Vocab Haman Malone, he was one of our major adversaries back then. He's a major adversary now. He was Haman the layman. Vocab Malone was trying to, demonize us back then, trying to demonize us back now. Haman was trying to get the Israelites back then killed, and Vocab is trying to do the same shit now. Esther 3 and 8, and Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws, therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. See? And this is what this legislation is all about, because what he asked for was permission from the king to destroy the Israelites. But not only that, that a handwritten letter would be given to him to carry out this business. And the handwritten letters are what? These decrees. During the time of different kings, they wrote legislations into their kingdoms, into their laws, that if you didn't do so and so and such and obeyed this, you would be put to death, or you would be fined, or you would be imprisoned. Man, this is the same shit that Esau is doing right now. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And this is what? An unrighteous decree. Because the reason why he was doing this, because he was jealous of Mordecai, so he tried to take it out on the whole nation, because Mordecai wouldn't bow to him because he knew he was the devil. It says, and I will pay. So he even paid a bounty, 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasury, or treasuries. So this is what they've been doing. This is what they're doing now. Now let's go from there to Psalms, the 7th chapter, and the 11th verse. It says, the Most High judgeth the righteous, And the Most High is angry with the wicked every day. Remember, the Most High is suffering these devils. Not that he has to. He can smoke them, But the Lord has, a way that he's doing things. He once, awake not my love till he please. I'll just leave it at that. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. Right. The word whet. W-H-E-T. Which is to sharpen. And how is he sharpening his sword? Well, literally he's sharpening his sword, his weaponry, but a part of his arsenal also is legislation. Isn't there a saying, the pen is mightier than a sword? Everything in this society is done by decree, and everything in general is done by decree, by law. That everything be written. So it says, if he turn out, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. He hath also, this is dealing with the Most High, setting up the destruction of Esau. My bad. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. So the Most High is making it ready for their destruction. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death, because they are being prepared for death. They are the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. The wicked were created for the day of wrath. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors. The persecutors, oppressors. In the case of today, is physically, putting people to death, because it said they shall be like madmen, but also what's going to lead to that, is the financial instability that's going to fall or befall Jake out here. It says, behold, he travaileth with iniquity. Right. So what does it mean to travail? When a woman is with child and she's about to give birth, those birth pains, that's her travail. So they travail with what? With iniquity. And it pains them not to be able to put this thing out there. And until they don't get it accomplished, they're not satisfied. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, which is what? Sin on top of sin, compounded sin, which is all this legislation and all the wicked shit that he's doing. And hath conceived mischief, right? And what comes out of their meetings, what comes out of these different, thought patterns that they have? Nothing but mischief. It says, and brought forth falsehood, right? And the falsehood is everything, their legislation, their beliefs, their indoctrination, their teachings, their religion, their policies, whatever. He made a ditch and digged it, right? Because he set up something called the New World Order. And he's going to fall right into it. And it's fallen into the ditch which he made, because that's going to be his undoing. You could read Job, the 20th chapter. His mischief shall return upon his own pate, and violent dealing shall come down upon his own. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. Right? Because they're going to have to pay for that. Now, let's go. Let me check something real quick. Is that it? Yep. It says, Isaiah 32:7, the instruments also of the churl are evil. Who are the churl? The foolish. Esau is foolish. They're base men. And it's evil because it's being brought for what? For the bad times that are coming. The time of Jacob's trouble. Let me read this that the elder put up. We got the rebukinator and the researcher. Congress has enacted approximately 200 to 600 statutes during each of its 115 I guess it might be bicentennial or biennial terms, so that more than 30,000 statutes have been enacted since 1789. More than 30,000 statutes. And these are all unrighteous decrees. In the guise of, well, it's for the benefit of the people, of course. No, it's for your benefit. So it says the instruments are also the churl are evil, meaning they're devices. This is why the Lord says he's going to disappoint the devices of the wicked. He deviseth wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words. Yeah, because the lying words are what? In the form of legislation. It's for your benefit. It's for the people. You know, but it's not. It's for their benefit. You know? And you see them when they talk, you know, all, you know, soft and moist, you know, to kind of get the people, well, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's going to be all right, you know? You know, don't worry. Big Al is like you too. He takes meds too, or however the hell what you call it, commercial goes. Says, even when the needy speaketh right, because their lying words are the legislation, and the needy speaking right because they want justice. They want things to be done properly. They want a fair shake. But these devils ain't going to give no fair shake because they're the devil. Now let's go to Psalms 36 and 4. It says, he deviseth mischief upon his bed. This goes hand in hand with Micah chapter 2. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. Right. He doesn't avoid evil by any means necessary. That's how they get down. Now let's go from there to Isaiah 51. And let's start at 12. It says, I am he that comforted you, because the Most High is the one that comforts us. That's why he said that the time is going to come that those that escape, meaning the elect, they're no longer going to stay upon him that oppressed them, but they're going to stay upon the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, in truth. Because the Lord is breaking us away from that yoke of the world. You know? And although we're operating in the system, you know, we're not, you know, included in the system, so to speak, because the Lord is going to remove us out of the system. He says he's going to break the yoke because of the anointing. This is why Yahushua said, because you have kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them. Right? It says, who art thou that thou shouldest be afraid of a man that shall die? Right? Because they're nothing but men. The power that they have is the power given to them of the Lord. Didn't Yahushua tell that to Pontius Pilate? Don't you know that I have the power to, you know, to kill you or let you go? He said, look, man, you ain't had no power over me unless the Heavenly Father gave it to you. Because Yahushua was given the power to either lay his life down or to take it back. So it says, and of the Son of Man which shall be made as grass. Right, because they're going to be made as grass. First of all, the kingdom is going to be, you know, it's going to go up in smoke. They're going to go into captivity. Then they're going to go up in smoke. And forgettest the Lord thy Maker, that hath stretched forth the heavens and laid the foundation of the earth, and has feared continuously every day because of the fury of the oppressor. They're bringing the fury, but why? Because it's the Lord's Spirit that's upon them. They shall be like madmen sparing none. Why? Because the fury of the Lord is upon them, to exact vengeance upon those that don't obey Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. As if he were ready to destroy. Right, he can't do anything unless the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai allows him. And where is the fury of the oppressor? Yeah, where is the fury of the oppressor? When the enemy shall come in like a flood, brother put this in the comment board earlier. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall enter in and shall lift up a standard against him. You know? So it says, the captive exile hasteneth that he may be loose. Who is a captive exile? We are. Because we're in captivity, slavery, which is pretty much really the slavery that we're in, is a contractual slavery. And we are exiles because we are royalty. We are, you know, kings, princes, and princesses that are in exile. We're under the jurisdiction of another nation that the Lord gave power over us. He said, the enemy that within you, or the stranger, shall get up above thee. So the captive exile hasteneth that he may be loosed, meaning what? From this prison. And that he should not die in the pit, meaning here in America. Nor that his bread should fail, right? Because this is what they're pushing. They're pushing shortages to push a lack of bread, which brings forth famines, which brings forth desperation, which brings forth obedience to the international bankers and their way of doing business in the future, which is by way of the MOTB, which is the CHIP. Excuse me. Now let's go from there to Job chapter 20. And we're just going to go straight to the point. 18. That which he labored for shall he restore. Yeah, because everything that these devils have gotten, they're going to restore all of that. That's why these so-called reparations are nonsense, because it's impossible to give anyone a dollar amount to compensate for the sufferings and the things that were done to us, from the so-called Negroes to the so-called Latinos to the so-called Native American Indians. There's not a dollar sign that can take away that hurt, that can pay for that hurt. That's why the substance that they have is going to be turned over to us, going to be translated to us, and they're going to be translated to us as slaves to pay for what they did. Now you may say, well, they're not here anymore. The people that did this, their children are here. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. Why? Because they are their forefathers coming back. Reincarnation is real. It's in the Bible. It's in the scriptures. It says, and shall not swallow it down, right? Because they're not going to be able to enjoy it according to his substance, which he has the world. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Shall the restitution be? So real restitution is going to be according to the substance that they have, including themselves. Because it says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. You know? They shall, put them into slavery that had them in slavery. I'm just merely paraphrasing. It says, and he shall not rejoice therein, right? Because their whole thing is to get to their ultimate goal, which is the finish line, to get to the New World Order. But they're not going to accomplish it. They're only going to get so far. Because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor, because he hath violently taken away an house which he builded not. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly, he shall not save of that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left, therefore shall no man look for his goods. Why? Because this place is going to be destroyed. In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits and bad times. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And this word here in the Hebrew is the word aimal, which are the laborers. Which goes back to what? To the oppression, to the usury, to the, defrauding neighbors in their wages. And you can go to James 5, because James 5 says it all. It says, go to now ye rich men, which are who? These international banking families. This is one video on Odyssey. A brother has sent it to me, and it's called I'll tell you right now, it's called Monopoly, Who Owns the World, by a guy named Tim Gielen, which is Gielen, and he breaks it down. He goes into, which we've been speaking about it, other people that spoke about it, about the 5 major corporations that own all the other corporations, and they're all owned by these international bankers. And they have the market cornered. or they cornered the market. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Why? Because you're going to be in a really sad situation, because your aspirations and your vision of the future is not going to come to pass. The vision of the future that you have, the way to that you're going about to get there, is going to backfire on you, and it's going to be the very thing that brings you down. Your riches are corrupted and your garments moth-eating, meaning the way you got your riches is in a corrupt manner. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as they were fire, because your dreams are going to go up in smoke. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. And when you're about to eat, the Lord is going to pour the fury upon you. But prior to that, the people that you're oppressing are going to come against you. Behold, the hire of the laborers, the hire, meaning the wages, or the lack thereof, for the labor that people put in, or the work that they put in, you haven't paid them. This is why they really have no real substance. This is why they're in a rat race. This is why they're always, living. Most people are living from paycheck to paycheck. And if they do have a savings account, it's not really much. Any major little thing happens and they have to shell out some money, they're right back to square one. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, and you have the whole world, which is of you kept back by what? By fraud. Because what you're paying them with is not real compensation for their labor. Crieth, right, and they're crying because people are hurting. And as it gets worse and worse, people are going to be crying more and more, especially Jake. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. So the Lord is going to deal with you. See? So it's all coming together. You have lived in pleasure on the earth, bro. You were the rich man that fared sumptuously. Revelation 18th chapter. Lived deliciously, Isaiah 47. And been wanton, meaning undisciplined, careless. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter, right? The day of slaughter represents like a cookout. That particular day, because back then you didn't go to Kentucky Fried Chicken or you didn't go to the store and buy meat and cook it. And you actually, what you ate that night was alive a few hours prior to that. Whether it was a cow, whether it was a bull, whether it was an ox, whether it was a sheep or some goat, it was alive. You have condemned and killed the just, and he did not resist you. Why? Because we don't have the power to resist. So let's go from there. Same book of James, but let's go to the 2nd chapter now, and the 13th verse. It says, "For he shall have judgment without mercy that have showed no mercy." And you have showed no mercy. What is the slogan for the future? I guess, like, for lack of better words, the so-called New World Order will be like a boot stamping on your face forever. Merciless. And that's what these devils are all about. They act like they're, benevolent and, and so caring for the people and, just the utmost respect. But wait till they get that power. Wait till them horns come out. And mercy rejoiceth against judgment, right? And you have no form of mercy, because mercy rejoices against judgment. But because you didn't show any mercy during judgment, when you had the godlike power in your hand to do so, no mercy is going to be showed upon you. Goddamn devil worshippers. Let's go to Job 27. We're just about finished. Job 27. I'm going to read a couple of verses, but I'm going to just kind of, Lord's will, try to breeze through it. Job 27:13. This is the portion of a wicked man with the Most High, and the heritage of oppressors. This is what they're going to inherit, which they shall receive of the Almighty. If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread, because you're going to go through it. You're going to catch hell. You're going to eat food by weight. You're going to drink by weight. And even the scraps that you're going to get in the kingdom is far better than the top meal in the world today. You know, and we're not going to be like you fucking piece of shit. We're not going to feed you pork because that's unlawful. We're not going to throw pig intestines and shit at you, you know, the bottom half of the hog, so to speak, and have you cook it up so you can eat that. Because that's not lawful. It says, those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widow shall not weep, because eventually they're all going to be destroyed. Obadiah 1:18. Though he heap up silver as the dust. And when you read these scriptures, it's pretty much saying the same thing over and over and over again, just in different forms. And you have heaped up silver as the dust. For what? For the latter days. For your new world order. And prepare raiment as the clay. He may prepare it, but the just shall put it on, because all of your substance shall be turned over to us. According to the substance shall be the restitution, or shall the restitution be. And the innocent, the Israelites, shall divide the silver. Because it says that in the riches of these nations you shall boast yourself. He buildeth his house as a moth, and as a booth that the keeper maketh. Yeah, you've been building. I'll give you that, devil. Can't nobody build like Esau. And there's nowhere in the scriptures where it says, and thus Japheth built. No. The Lord said Esau is going to build, but I'm going to throw down. That's what the Lord said. You don't read nothing about Japheth building nothing. You don't read about Japheth in the latter day prophecies, even though they're still around. But they're not so-called white people. The Japhites are the so-called, what they call today or classified today as the Polynesian people. Your Hawaiians, your Samoans. And you have Israelites among the Hawaiians and among the Samoans and among the Tongans and among the Aborigines of Australia, which that's also more Japhites. When you look at pictures of the Etruscans and the Picts and the Minoans and others, they were people of color. They were not white people. So-called white people, which are the Edomites, they came up and then conquered those lands and moved the darker persuasions out of those lands. From the islands of the Mediterranean Sea to the lands of Europe and abroad. So it goes on to say, the rich man shall lie down. Right. How are you rich man? But he shall not be gathered. He openeth his eyes, and he is not. Right, because you're going to disappear like a dream, like dung. Terrors take hold of him as waters. Yeah, because you're going to be terrified in the kingdom of heaven. You're going to be asking Abraham, Father Abraham, can you have Lazarus dip his thumb in some water and put a drop of water on my tongue to alleviate of this heat, pretty much. You're going to be catching it. And that's what the Lord said. What if some did not believe? Of course you ain't. You're going to be like, oh, you guys, you Hebrew, you black Hebrew Israelites, you're so funny. Of course you're going to act like that because you're in power right now. You're not in a position to where we can do this right now. So of course you're going to act like that. But when the kingdom is established, guess what? You're going to be powerless as we are powerless now. But we have power. But it's just not power of our own. We have power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And this is why you're paying individuals to stop using and teaching those names, the names of Yahweh and Yahushai. Because you know that there's power in those names. Terrors take hold on him as waters. A tempest stealeth him away in the night. The east wind carrieth him away, and he departeth. And as a storm hurleth him out of his place. You're going to be hurled out of your place. You're going to be yanked out of your place. For the Most High shall cast upon him and not spare. Why? Because you didn't have any mercy. He would fain flee out of his hand, and you're not going to be able to. You may think you can, because you always have, the big bad white man in the movies, always, figures out a way to defeat everybody. But those are just illusions, Mr. Wordsworth. Inside joke. Men shall clap their hands at him. Right, you're going to be happy as man. Everything and everyone is going to be happy when your demonic ass goes down, man. And you're finally where you belong, at the bottom. A nameless, shameful, low-life, decrepit devil that you are. And shall hiss him out of his place. Get out of here. Yes. You know? People can't wait. We can't wait for your demonic ass to go down. Oh, glory day when your ass goes down. It's going to be a beautiful day, man. It's just the wait. All right. So like I'm just a little bit animated right now. Hurl him out of his place and hiss him out of his place. Let's get these last two precepts and let's close it out. Let's go back to Isaiah. Do I still have Isaiah 14? Yep, this is it. I'm going to go straight to the point. Isaiah 14 and 16. They that see him shall narrowly look upon him and consider thee, saying, is this the man that did that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Be like, this piece of shit right here? This is the devil that made the world as a wilderness? And boy, you've made the world as a wilderness. Talking about, traveling to find other planets so you can inhabit them, to start over. No, what you want to do is you want to try. You're not going to accomplish it, but you want to find other worlds, other planets that you can go to, which you're not going to go to, so that you can destroy that, so that you can exploit it, so that you can deplete the resources, because you done brought the earth to the brink of destruction. That's what the Most High is going. That's another reason that the Lord is going to destroy you, and destroy the cities thereof that open not the houses of his prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house. All the kings and all the nations, they're going to be good. They're going to catch hell, but after 1,000 years, they're going to be good. But you, no good. He's no good. He's no good. It says, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as a raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Everybody wants to be like Esau now. They're the hunks of the earth. They're everybody. King Richard the Lionhearted, and they're, the Messiah and the Most High, and all of these great, and Charlemagne, and all of these great individuals, and Justinian, and the disciples, and Peter, and John, and Theudas, and all of these great people. You've claimed to be them, but you're not. You'll never be renowned again. You're going to be found out to be what you really are, is a low base man, a man of no name. The true definition of your original name, Bauer, which means peasant. You shall be rocked back down to peasantry. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. No, never, ever again will you, be able to set up any societies, civilizations. Or should I say, I say stolen, and colonized. It says, for I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And you could read on and on and on. It goes on and on and on. And because this is how you're going to go off. I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts. And I will make it a possession for the bittern, because America will be destroyed, and it shall be left desolate for desert animals, desert creatures, birds, so on and so forth, and pools of water. And I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, said the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of hosts. Now, the last precept I have is Malachi chapter 3, And verse 5, it says, and I will come near to you to judgment. Judgment, nutriment, inside joke. And I will be a swift witness. The Lord says he's going to be a swift witness against the sorcerers and against the adulterers and against false swearers and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages. Yeah. You oppressors, usurers, giving out loans at exorbitant amount of interest to pay back, the Lord is going to be a swift witness against you. And all of these other things fit you too. The sorcerers, adulterers, false swearers, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because you're going to learn the fear of the Lord, boy. You're going to learn the fear of the Lord. And you're going to have a long 1,000 years to get your mind right. But you're not going to get your mind right. And then after that, you will be rounded up, burnt to a crisp, and no longer ever again will you in the flesh of an Edomite be on the earth. We don't know what's going to happen with your spirit, because we know that you're not going to be destroyed. Your spirit will never be destroyed, but your flesh will be destroyed, and you will never set foot on the earth as an Edomite ever again. The only time we're going to read about an Edomite in the kingdom after their destruction is in the book itself. That's it. So with that, I pray that you brothers and sisters have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.